night.
Well, you don't look that bad right now.
I got a fade.
Yeah, I'm joined by a very clean cut with Brandon and Naya. Not that the people viewing this podcast episode will be able to see it, but I gotta commend you, man. You're looking good, looking sharp.
Yeah.
The beard is all lined up and everything.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's a huge difference.
Hell yeah.
Crazy. Man.
Yep.
Pretty crazy.
Stand taller with the trim like that.
Yeah.
So, we are in the Suga Show era. We're here to do our UFC 292 Unplugged episode. And yeah. Give me your immediate reaction.
My immediate reaction was just, it wasn't like complete disbelief. It wasn't disbelief in that I knew that was definitely something that could happen.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that was definitely an option. I think it was something we talked about. Yeah, O'Malley knew it was going to happen. He said he was going to do it. He basically said, like, I'm going to knock him out, like, really early. I think I was like you and I have shared the same, like, sentiment. Like, how did you let that happen? How did you let that happen? And I instantly, a lot of people were like, oh, it looked like Conor and Aldo. And I was like, oh, close. But I was watching what it looked like to me, but from the opposite side, so like a mirror image, because he was a lefty. But Pernell Whitaker, the way he used to punch, like that counter punch that way. I'm not sure if you know Pernell Whitaker, the boxer. He's like a gold medalist. He was like one of the only gold medalist Americans to win at a lighter weight.
Yeah,
he was fucking amazing, and he lost to Oscar De La Hoya. Like Oscar De La Hoya, fucking catapulted himself after beating Pernell Whitaker, because Pernell Whitaker was like basically undefeated, and fucking gold medalist, Olympic gold medalist, and Oscar De La Hoya beat him. Then no one you obviously know Oscar De La Hoya, you don't know Pernell Whitaker, right? So
yeah, I know Oscar De La Hoya.
That's instantly what I remembered was like kind of the step back, and then a quick, but that was the thing too. And O'Malley definitely has he's definitely not a defensive strike, as good of a defensive striker as Whitaker was, but that movement was like famous. Pernell Whitaker fucking step back, overhand. Whitaker did it with the left, but the same that overhand right. And the guy's hand always just barely missed Whitaker, but then it was right on the draw every single time. It was amazing.
That pullback
was a
counter.
Fucking beautiful punch. Yeah. Oh my god.
Yeah, he caught Aljamain really, really overreaching for
it's
that
been
punch.
So cool seeing the reactions too, and like Henry Cejudo's reaction was fucking wild. That was so funny, man.
Yeah, Henry was really gritting his teeth at that one.
Yeah,
it's interesting going back and finding out now after the fact that Aljamain Sterling actually reached out to Henry Cejudo. You know, they released I don't know who released the DMs, if it was Aljo. Yeah. I'm assuming it was Aljo, where he asked Henry like the day before, I think, like, hey, so what do you think he's gonna do? And Henry, dude, he's probably one of the best minds in MMA. He called it exactly. He said
easily,
he told He told Aljo what not to do and what to watch out for, and Aljo said, all right, bet, and just didn't listen to any of it.
You see that in a lot of fighters that are like inside of two minds, you know, where they're just they know what they have to do, they know how to do it, but they just but something tips them off, or they kind of maybe just don't trust their gut feeling, and they do something different, and you can tell it puts them in two different headspaces instead of just singularly focused on what they should be doing. And like he knew what he had to do. He was saying it all night, not all night, but like pretty much the entire lead up to this card, and he did none of that. He did absolutely none of that.
Yeah, he completely deviated from what I assume the game plan was or should have been. Now, you mentioned the Conor McGregor, Jose Aldo comparison, and I can see where people would automatically go to that and make that comparison. But the difference to me being that Aldo was supposed to strike with Conor. You know, I mean, that fight never really got going, but it wasn't like Aldo shot for a takedown and ate a knee or something like that. You know, I mean, Aldo when going into that fight, if you would have asked me like, what does Aldo have to do? I was like, Aldo has to be Aldo and beat this motherfucker
Right.
down, like be the better striker, and that didn't work
Yeah.
for him there. And with Aljamain, we all know where his strengths lie and what he should have been doing. And granted, he had a few takedown attempts. I think they only chalked up one official takedown attempt, but for my money, I counted at least two, maybe
I
three.
counted two.
Yeah,
Like a half-assed third,
yeah.
but yeah,
And I mean, all the credit in the world to Sean O'Malley for defending those first
absolutely.
first few takedowns. But across the 5 rounds, you have to imagine that eventually, he would have gotten his back on the cage, wore him down a little bit, maybe got him down, and we really would have seen where the fight would have gone from there. But
Mhm.
I mean, I can't fault O'Malley for any of that. It's a bit of fortune, but it was also crazy hearing about how apparently, I mean, according to O'Malley himself, how he'd injured his ribs a few weeks
Yeah,
out from the fight, or had a minor rib injury and basically didn't do any or train any wrestling or defensive wrestling at all. And it's like, Aljo, like,
yeah.
I
What
mean,
they do? Yeah.
yeah, I mean, hindsight is 2020, but
It
yeah, it's
really
really
sucks.
crazy.
It really sucks for him because like no one's gonna give a fuck, and like just no one cares, and that's really sad because like you see great champions lose, and it's kind of like dang, he didn't lose really. Give him a because like even like Amanda Nunes, and it's different WMA. Like she got popped and she got the pretty much the immediate rematch.
Yeah,
But there's just no chance that's gonna happen. They're like, thanks, bye, see you. That's like take
no,
the football and run away. Like, okay, game's over, bye.
yeah. For now, for the foreseeable future, they don't. They seem to be more than happy to be out of the Aljamain Sterling business, at least as
Yeah,
far
because
as
it's
contendership is.
Cheeto, Sanhagen. There's like a lot of fights that they're gonna make. Cheeto, Sanhagen, and Marab all deserve are not in that order, but they're all gonna get a shot. I think at O'Malley if he continues to win.
But I think that the UFC will in between O'Malley maybe trying to posture towards some kind of a big money fight, like boxing fight, which he's already mentioned, the whole Tank Davis thing, which is, I mean, we'll get into what this all potentially means for the
I'm talking about
bantamweight
hurt ribs,
division.
dude.
Talk
Fuck, your ribs will be hurt, dude, if
But
you do this.
I would not put it past the UFC or the powers that be or whatever to even potentially fucking dangle a carrot in front of TJ Dillashaw because
Yeah.
I'm sure that they're intent on another thing, like, I want to keep reminding people, this is not me kind of trying to slam dunk or shit on Sean O'Malley. Take the
Yeah.
easiest fights you can for the most amount of
Yeah.
money.
Yeah.
But I do worry about what it means for the bantamweight division and what the UFC or what the UFC is willing to line up for him, because we know there's no way that they're going to make Merab go in, or they're going to make O'Malley fight Merab Dvalishvili.
No.
I
He would win three. He would get three title defense shots before he faces Marab. I will bet over under on three fights before he fights Marab if he has the title. They'd make him fight fucking Cody Garbrandt first
That's another name I was going to
before.
bring up. I think
Yeah.
that they could find a way to get Dominic Cruz in there. I was just talking about,
Yeah.
like, if they can get any of these guys a solid win on a main card, and because at the end of the day, you get him in there with Sean O'Malley and he beats those guys, which I would, of those guys that
Yeah.
we named, I would pick him to beat those guys. Then you could say, oh, he beat these three former champions. If you get TJ Dillashaw
Yeah.
in there willing to go and roll the dice again, I mean, we're really just kind of, I guess our expectations are low, and like I said,
Oh yeah.
yeah,
And we talk about can crusher guys getting up. Like the Dags do that a lot. You see it in WMA. You were pointing it out the other day with Tyler Santos. Uh, they're gonna can crush his title defenses. I think. I think they're going. They have like how they fumbled Connor's legacy,
mhm.
and they're just not gonna do that again.
Yeah, I do think it would be in their best interest to try and make sure that every time Sean O'Malley puts the gloves on, it is happening in a UFC octagon. Because
Yeah.
if they go, they're probably not gonna let him go get that bag just as easily as Connor did in boxing. Because once they do, they don't have control of this guy anymore. You can't keep
Yeah.
him. You can't march him out there, to go and fight for scraps anymore. Once he goes and gets that kind of a payday. And I mean, granted, they're not the same. They're really not the same person. And that is one
Yeah.
point that I want to like go out of my way to make, that a lot of people just kind of see, an Irish last name and see like a
Yeah.
bombastic type of character and strikers, and kind of want to conflate the two. But what I do like about Sean O'Malley becoming champion is his criticism towards MMA managers. He's been pretty like outright and vocal about that, and that's something that we've kind of been seeing more and more headlines about, is some
Yeah.
of the potential like shady conflict of interest between MMA managers and promoters, and like a lot more of that stuff is starting to come to light. Stuff that we're probably not really qualified to talk about as far as like
Yeah.
the UFC antitrust lawsuits and stuff, but I think that that's a pretty interesting take. I like when someone who's willing to be outspoken about that kind of stuff is given a bigger platform to potentially kind
Sure.
of bring that to light a little bit more, and maybe he'll change his tune now that he's at the top of the mountain.
No, because I don't
But
think the managers. I think Dana's be like, yeah, the managers, dude, pump that managers thing. I hope it would be super transparent if they did it, but like to sacrifice guys like Ali, that would be but it would still be a good thing, even though it's like transparent. We know you're trying to like take the spotlight off of what the fuck the UFC is doing, like at the top, the high level, but to fucking expose the managers would be good.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I like Sean O'Malley. Truly, like
Yeah. Oh
I
yeah.
don't have a
No.
problem
Yeah.
with the guy.
No
Um,
problems with the guy as a champ
I loved
at
when
all. Yeah.
when he beat Peter Yan, and a lot of people disagreed with the decision, and we
Including
saw
me.
all of the media scores that they all picked Yan. I picked Yan. We saw the Weasel's breakdown of that very recently, where he pointed out all the times that Sean O'Malley grabbed the cage and
Hmm.
cheated on takedowns, and the ref did nothing about it. And despite all of
Yeah.
that, I thought it was so hilarious when he posted. I think it was like the next morning or later on that night. He just posted like the most unflattering selfie of himself from a bad angle and was like, "Sorry, I won the fight, guys."
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. He's definitely he has a different type of not a different type, but he has more of like the homie type of sense of humor, where
uh,
like you have friends like that instead of the like over rehearsed fucking trying to get a line out, you know, because like guys like Kobe Covington, they do it the right way. You know what I mean? He fucking wrote that shit in his fucking in his office or wherever the fuck he does it. He writes these lines out, but he delivers them well. And then some guys are just like trying to do it, and you have like Juliana Penny like overdoing it and being
yeah,
cringe.
the
You
Ian
got like Henry.
Garys.
Yeah, you got Henry Cejudo doing it, and then you can just tell Sean O'Malley's himself.
Yeah,
That's him. He's not faking it, and he's always been like that. He's been like that since he was beating the shit out of fucking Chris Matinho to now, you know. And the thing I don't like about him is like the Takashi 6ix9ine shit, but like whatever. I just don't like Takashi 6ix9ine,
uh huh,
you know. But
yeah,
because he has his Takashi 6ix9ine tattoo on him, that's kind of
yeah,
wild.
yeah. Takashi 6ix9ine. He ratted on your affiliates, on your
Or
close
the
friends
pedophilia, the grooming,
that you do
the
business with.
pedophilia and the grooming with like young women
Yeah,
or children. This
yeah.
is not even women; it's your children.
Your friends. Yeah, your people that you
Yeah,
run
yeah,
with. Yeah, man. So big things on the horizon for Sean
yeah. This
O'Malley.
guy's it's gonna be wild. They're really gonna, yeah. It, they're
I
gonna do it the right way.
yeah, and then how like I was talking about how they uploaded the main event to YouTube directly after
Right
the
away.
event, and how that's the first time that they've ever done that. To me, I don't get why they wait till he has the strap, and I talked about this in our group chat. I've always kind of felt like Sean O'Malley can just be a star. He already was. He already
Yeah,
was. He was clearly popular, and the UFC said, "Nah, we're gonna have him sit on the shelf and wait for the ideal title shot." And to me, I just think like I don't know. I've never really understood how or why the belt itself gives someone a push. Right now, people can argue, well, he is getting a push because you
Hmm.
know apparently he got like 312,000 followers, additional followers since this past weekend on his Instagram or Twitter. I'm not sure which one. And I don't know how much to chalk that up to them uploading the fight right away, or because it clearly, to me, it seems like the UFC goes the extra mile now that he is the champion. But my argument is that they can just go the extra mile anytime. Like they don't have to wait for
Yeah.
him to be the champion. If this is your guy, you can really just push him, and you could have had two more Sean O'Malley fights to make money with in the time that he was on the shelf waiting for this Aljamain Sterling fight or title fight. But maybe I'm underrating what the title really does for engagement like across the board.
Yeah. I think you're right, and I don't think you're wrong, but I think you're right, but not as right as you think you are. I think I think it kind of sets a precedent because then everybody's gonna want that, and then you're gonna get that. It just sets a bad precedent for them, I think,
Uh huh.
across the board, and they're gonna have to do that for everybody. And then if people don't get it, then they're like wondering why, you know. And like, it doesn't seem like the UFC really gives a fuck to answer why. But I just think it kind of maybe sets a bad precedent for them. But that's just me spitballing. I do think you're right. It's like, why the fuck don't you just do this all the time if you got a guy like this? It's basically sports entertainment.
Or
It's really not.
I guess I wish I can kind of take a peek into the mind of like, and I don't say casual to kind of be dismissive of casual fans, like quotation fingers, but like why that boost is there. I like I kind of wonder how important the title is to more fair weather fans. You know what I mean? And
I
like,
think it's. I think it's because I'm in this world of like I chill out and I just watch it with my kids. It's like it's the same thing I always do every Saturday, where like fights like this with someone that has the outward appearance and the like type of like marketability that he does. It's more of like the who's that, you know, and like who did that, and then what's crazy was like I've mentioned it too in passing to you, and then today in the barbershop, like hearing guys talk, they were talking because they talk sports, and then they're like, yeah, he's fucking badass, fool, this fool's fucking badass, and they just keep it's like and then like they're just getting everything like they of course it was right, but then I get like you don't know him, you don't know, shut up. But it's like, but you see it, like you hear it, and they're like, I fucking always knew about that fool, dude. He was
mm,
fucking badass. He's fucking sick, fool. And it's just like, dang, that's
it
how it
runs.
happens.
I guess it
Yeah, they're
runs
like,
the gamut.
yeah, and they're like, I was watching it with my cousin, fool, and like we watch all the fight, we watch all the so it's like dudes just show up and watch pay per views. They're like, who is this? You know, and
Yeah,
so I think you and I are just like, why? What the hell? Like, but
I
we're
think
probably
if
gonna
yeah.
be what we watch every single fight, basically. You
Yeah,
know?
I think I forget that we're
Yeah,
watching like literally everything. And when you put it that way
yeah.
too, I guess when you see the belt around a guy's waist, you are kind of you get the green light and you immediately understand that, oh, I'm going to be seeing this guy a lot more. Like when it
Yeah,
comes to the title in this division, it's going to be this guy until I see him lose. Whereas
I think
if
if
he
you went
doesn't
down
have the
yours and
title,
my your your and my like Instagram following, the like randomness of the fighters we follow is like way different than just your average person that buys a pay per view or goes to the homie's house.
uh,
You know what I mean? Like so someone that follow, and this is just for like this is just talking about specifically social media. This has nothing to do with, but like I would say like the average person that even is a UFC fan that watches pay per views, they probably follow 8 or 9 MMA fighters, and it's like all the ones you think they do, you know. And so when they see one, and then he's a champ, and they do it, you
yeah,
know. Whereas
I
I
can see
just
that.
like, oh fuck, Big Marcel fucking posted you. Oh. thanks. And then like then I like I'm gonna look at everything. Yeah, like it's cringe as hell, but like I think I've been like following Ian Gary for like the longest fucking time.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? That's why like I sent I think they deleted it now, but there was like a post of Ian Gary taking a shower with like Cheeto Ortiz or Cheeto Ortiz. That was fun.
Cheeto
He,
Vera.
Cheeto Vera, Cheeto Ortiz, with Cheeto
Um,
Vera. But like that guy's like Ian Gary's actually like in my algorithm for whatever reason. Like I see his posts like random shit. So it's like, it's just very different. Where you and I are like very different than
there's
that.
sometimes there's fighters who I forget that I'm already following them on Instagram.
Sure.
Like I'll
I
see
see their
somebody
stuff.
like
Yeah.
come up and or I'll see a fight of theirs and I'll be like, oh, I'm gonna go follow this guy, and then I'll go to his page and I'm like, oh, I'm already following them.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So
Same.
yeah. Um,
Yeah.
and like I was saying also, like I guess when he doesn't have the title, or when anybody doesn't have the title, and if you're not watching or as tuned into the sport, you don't really know how close they are or aren't to a title, or if they're in contendership and they're just kind of coming and going. You don't know
Yeah.
when they're going to turn up again. So yeah, I guess that
It's
that does kind
it
of
is the
communicate a
annoying
certain amount
thing
of
though.
like,
And I wasn't trying to be like, oh, I'm better than anyone that just watches UFC, but it's annoying when this shit like this happens and it's like then everybody all of a sudden is the foremost expert on everything Sean O'Malley.
yeah.
It's just like, damn it. And then you can't say shit because then it's like, oh, who are you? Like,
Just
yo, okay.
the influx of Conor McGregor fans during like his
Yeah.
rise was the worst, because they
It's
were
the
also
absolute
all
worst.
just
Yeah.
parroting all of his like talking mannerisms and stuff. And
Mm-hmm.
Conor McGregor's whole MO was just the biggest, most bombastic asshole in the room, and that was like
Yeah.
the coolest thing. So his fans kind
Yeah.
of imitate that. And granted, they imitate that more online. It's not like people were actually like popping off like in person. I've never encountered somebody trying to talk to me like Conor McGregor in person, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was definitely felt throughout the MMA community. But that translates to numbers. That translates to
Yeah, you
money.
can. It's
That
undeniable.
translates to dollars in Dana's pocket. So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Here
But
we are, man.
we can't let any of that take away from the fact that this guy is a fucking. He has savage hand-eye coordination.
Mhm.
He has He has like some really high level fucking like. I don't know. It might have been mentioned before, but I would absolutely love to see what his like his eyesight is. Like it has to be stronger than the normal. It would be it would be crazy. It's not 2020, dude. It's like off the charts. His hand-eye coordination must be insane.
I was just laughing at you, like starting to say that, and then realizing you don't really know what a better than 2020
Yeah, yeah. I was
eyesight scores.
thinking you saw the monkey the monkey math in my head.
But I know it
Just
can get
very
better than
engaged, dude.
2020. So yeah, I know exactly
It
where you're
can,
going with
yeah.
that.
Who was it? There's I think I was watching, it was like a picture. I think it was Greg Maddox had like terrible eyesight. He
Hmm.
had like crazy eyesight that you couldn't even like fathom. And then some guy was I was watching a documentary about that baseball players with like eyesight differentials,
Yeah.
and like so they said something was like 10-20, but the way they said it, and I was like trying to recall it, but I can't. It was there's just nothing there, dude.
Yeah. To give Sean O'Malley even more props too, I think that this guy shines under the brightest lights. Now he has
Oh yeah,
back-to-back wins over Peter Yan and Aljamain Sterling.
crazy.
And we know
That's
we're
crazy to say
yeah.
aloud.
So those are the very, very impressive wins. Everybody was
Mhm.
already kind of anointing Aljamain Sterling as the best bantamweight, that we've ever seen. Which I think
I
probably
think he
with
is.
this win he would have been right there. I wasn't quite ready to
Yeah.
to say that about him
Who
yet.
are you gonna give it to?
I
To
was
Cruz?
thinking Dominic Cruz, but that's a
Yeah.
very old run already now. You know what I mean? That's going
Yeah.
back to the WEC. So I think he probably, if he had won this past weekend, I probably would have given it to Aljo.
If you like, we can pull up the topology. Oh, I think we have,
Hmm.
because I mean he did decisively beat Peter Yan. He basically that whatever that knee was what it was.
Hmm.
You're talking about Sandhagen. You're talking about Yan.
Henry Cejudo's a big one, man.
Henry Cejudo's
It's a very
insane.
big one. I mean, it was
This
Henry
was like one
after.
of the most contentious conversations we've had on this podcast. Was like Mike just like he doesn't done anything. Like I was like, what? Dude, he just beat Henry Cejudo. Like how many fucking gold medalists has this guy beat? You know?
Yeah, and we can't blame the T.J. Dillashaw shoulder injury on him either. You know,
Yeah.
he doesn't know that going into. He's only fighting, you know, who they put in front of him. So
In 3 years, you're gonna be like, he beat T.J. Dillashaw. He
mhm.
beat Corey Sandhagen. He's the. You can go down the list of like the craziest fucking fighters ever.
What do you think Aljo does from here? Do you think he still goes up to 145, or do you think he sees this as a little bit of a reset for him at bantamweight? I mean, he said he's kind of tired of cutting the weight, so maybe this is his sign to just say, hey, it wasn't on my terms, but I'm still going to be leaving the division. How do you think he does at featherweight?
I think go fight Brian Ortega. That sucks, dude. That's gonna be the
It's a
weirdest poster.
dangerous fight too. It's not a safe
Yeah,
fight because
yeah.
Brian Ortega's hands have certainly gotten better, not amazing, but good enough to hang with Aljamain Sterling. And excuse me, they're both really good grapplers. That's a good fucking name. I think that'd be a great first fight for him to have going into the featherweight
Yeah.
division because you
And
can't.
Ortega's probably getting back from injury. So
Yeah. Yeah, because you can't lose and then go up and challenge for the title one weight class up. So I think the Volkanovski fight's definitely off the table for him right now. But I think he could have a renewed kind of resurgence up at featherweight if he starts to make a run. Obviously, we know that the path to the title at featherweight also goes through Max Holloway, who's going to be fighting this coming weekend. So,
yeah.
I mean, I would totally,
Crazy.
I'd be here for it for
Oh,
Aljamain
I
Sterling
haven't
Max
posted the
Holloway fight.
Max Holloway lookalike yet. I haven't posted that meme yet. Can you do
uh,
it? You probably already made the thumbnail,
yeah, it's
huh?
already on the
Okay.
screen, right? Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Oh no, I haven't made a thumbnail for the Holloway Korean Zombie fight though. So I've just made
Yeah.
one
Do
for.
you? Oh, okay. Okay. If you do that, if you're able, just use the Max Holloway lookalike guy.
Send it to
With
me right now. Well,
oh, you don't.
if it's
Okay.
on your
Yeah.
phone.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Um, but
Absolutely.
to take it back to Sean O'Malley and my closing thoughts. Looking forward to seeing what this title run of his looks like. I hope he fights his contenders, or at the very least, I hope he sprinkles his contenders between money fights. And I'll be happy enough with that. If he fights his contenders, I will be a full-on Sean O'Malley fan. And I know I'll be rooting for him against Cheeto Vera if that's the direction they decide to go in.
Yeah. it and I'm not gonna blame him for ducking Marab. I would say that's good business. Like, because Marab is going to do some weird shit would do some really weird shit to O'Malley.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I mean he could certainly knock Marab out too. Marab doesn't have
Oh yeah,
like amazing head movement or anything like that, but he just has this unkillable pace, this and pressure that he's certainly going to seek to put to put O'Malley on the cage if he can't get him
yeah,
down. So yeah, let's talk about this co-main.
yeah. Sure, let's do it.
I haven't gotten any indication from Mike if he's going to be down to do a WMMA episode tomorrow. So, and even if he did, I think we should still talk about it here because it was probably I don't know
Weili
if I'd go so far as
Zhang,
to
the
say
best
career
fighter on the.
defining like
She's the best
performance.
fighter on the card. She was the
But
best fighter on the card.
oh yeah, I could say that. Yeah. She was a fucking Terminator. Like it was a complete
It's
shutout,
very scary.
one weight
It's very
traffic.
scary.
She really beat her from pillar to post, and I gotta say, like I mean, we both picked Zhang Wei Li, but I thought
Her
Amanda Lemos
fluidity,
would at
her
least have a moment.
footwork looked gorgeous. I was like, wow, look at you. Look at that. And I was like, look at her feet. And I was like, back and forth.
Look at the bitch's feet.
Yeah. Because I'm always staring at the bitch's feet in the WMA fights, but I was meaning like the way she was doing it, you know?
Uh-huh.
So, the way she was moving, she looked great, like in and out, darting in and out. Just real like head movement, shoulder movement. It just no herky jerk. no stiffness. Just it looked great. It's like, oh yes, I like to see this. I love it. No head and arm throws, no shoulder, like no judo throws.
No, catching
Just
kicks
like,
and pushing Lemos off
yeah,
of her feet, and yeah,
just
just
great.
attacking from everywhere. Just
Yeah,
never resting on any position and giving Lemos like room to breathe. Like
and
there
it
was
was the one
plenty of
time
times where
you want DC in on the booth for
uh
when to explain exactly how she was what she was doing, because DC is very good at that. So the way he was breaking down the takedowns and how she was building off of the takedowns and getting different positions depending on where she was on the cage, and wow, that it really was enlightening to hear DC talk about it. So that was good.
yeah, and it was nice to see in positions where on the ground where Whaley, was in like on the side, and like she was blasting Lemos with knees to the body on the ground, like
Yeah,
6, 7 knees in a row. They look just vicious. Where other girls are just more concerned with. I mean, other fighters in general, not even just other girls, are more concerned with position over anything else. You know what I mean? Not losing it.
hmm,
And Whaley was just like, no, I'm attacking from everywhere. And maybe she won't always have that luxury, with other matchups. But here, she really showed up as the complete mixed martial artist, like a full on triangle fighter. Like in every
yeah,
aspect, she's the athlete, she's the fighter, she's the martial artist. She was mean, she was disciplined, and and she just showed that like she was a fucking hoss, like
hmm,
physicality. Like we all know, like Wei Lee's probably one of the best athletes in the sport, like
sure,
across genders. Yeah, she showed that here, and it was the kind of performance that really is like, okay, Lemos is way to the back of the line. Like you're gonna have to
yeah,
do something way impressive to even like get back into contendership, and not because people aren't entertained with her style of fight. Like she comes to chuck them, but she got no opportunity to do that ever. I think okay. Well, I got to like walk that statement back a little bit because I do
okay,
believe she was it in the fourth round when she it looked like she dropped Whaley, but I think it was more of a slip where she kind of caught her off
hmm,
balance. But
yeah.
either way, like Whaley recovered instantly, was back to her feet,
Yeah, she
and then
caught her. It was like a straight right, I think, right, or something, if I'm not mistaken.
we didn't mention her repeated use or attempted use of the ninja choke, which
Mm,
it was a little bit of a hairy moment in the very first round when Wei Li took her down and she fell right into the ninja choke, but
yeah,
Lemos was on the bottom of side mount and she was just never going to get it from there. But as far as the positioning of her arms, she had it like all the way locked in. She just didn't have any way to like apply torque, with the rest of her body. Um, I think that she should probably expand a little bit. I don't know the ninja choke,
yeah.
like if was it
You'd have to
Jack Slack
be
was
like
mentioning.
the reason why like seasoned strikers are able to do that is because they have those muscles. Like, if that makes any kind of sense, they can't, like you were saying, building torque and using like awkward positions, but still getting strength out of them. They just have that type of strength in those positions to do it. They can call on that strength. Where a striker getting into that, they can definitely, you know the positions, you know how to set yourself up in there, but you just don't have the grip, you don't have the forearm strength, you don't have the just that back strength to do that kind of shit. Whereas a pure grappler, it would be a little easier.
So very interestingly enough, in the post-fight presser, Wei Li really didn't even say Yan Xiaonan's name at all. She seems way more interested in a matchup with Tatiana Suarez, which I thought was interesting. I don't know if
Hmm.
she isn't into the idea of fighting her fellow countrywoman or what the situation is there, but it sounds like she wants Tatiana Suarez next, which I think is smart because
Yeah, taking down
um,
the young star. Yeah.
yeah, I've been really big on Tatiana Suarez. I was really anticipating her return for a while, but I still don't think Tatiana is at 100% of where she was before her injury, before her long layoff. And maybe it's recency bias, but after watching the performance that Zhang Wei Li put in this past weekend. I feel like if the Tatiana we saw recently was in there with this version of Zhang Wei Li, I think Zhang Wei Li would have beat the brakes off of her. I don't know if you agree or not, but
I don't know about. I don't know if it would have been quite as bad as this last performance, but it would be in a different way. It would be more of a. It would be a lot of like a striker's delight type of. I think a lot with it, more with the hands than the grappling. But I mean, that's an easy assumption to make just based off like on paper, you know.
yeah. I guess my biggest concern for Wei Li in that matchup is just that where it seems that Tatiana is focusing her strengths, is going for a lot of submissions lately. She's finished her last two fights with via guillotine. That is still clearly Zhang Wei Li's only weakness, I'd say, right now. I mean, I'm
Mm-hmm.
sure there's other deficits in her striking that someone who's like has better eyes for striking could probably point out. But
Right.
like case in point, we saw Wei Li fall into that ninja choke that Lemos wasn't ready to lock up. And you fall into that same choke with Tatiana, and Tatiana will
She
make the
definitely has the
necessary
back muscles
adjustments.
to make that
Oh
work.
yeah.
Yeah.
So that's definitely going to be a much more pronounced risk. And we saw in her last fight, Tatiana's been working on her stand up and trying to expand that part of
Hmm.
her game, which makes sense because the best way to improve on that is to do it live, like to do it in the
Right.
fight and
Right.
get
Right.
actual ring time. So,
Sure.
but yeah, I would say right now, my early prediction for that fight, not even prediction, I would say I'm leaning towards Zhang Wei Li if that's the next fight that they make for that strawweight
Absolutely.
title.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I do still hope that the Yan Xiaonan versus Zhang Wei Li fight happens though.
I think. Uh, I don't know if they'll do it. If they do go to China, I think they do it that way, just because they wouldn't want an American going to China and winning against a Chinese fighter.
Yeah,
So if like Yan Jianan wins, it's like okay, well the CCP doesn't lose. So
yeah,
you know,
yeah. You pretty much it's Chinese fighter winning either way.
yeah,
I think there's probably, and maybe I don't know if it would be smart by the UFC, but there's probably be something interesting to the idea of like having putting her in there with Tatiana, and even if Tatiana wins, then you run it back in China maybe, and then see if they still show up to see their girl try and get the title back, which would
yeah.
make Zhang Wei Li a 3-time strawweight champion if she's able to. She drops it and does that. But anyways, I'm getting
I
way
don't
ahead
think
of
she's.
myself.
I think she's gonna retire the champ, dude. I don't see. I don't. I just don't see anyone coming up to beat her.
I
I think
think
she's going to retire the champ, and she's going to retire the female goat.
I think it'd be much more likely that she also potentially goes up and
Yeah,
tries to vie for a double championship or fight whoever the champ is there. And not necessarily angling so much towards, oh, I want two belts, but just I need more challenges because
yeah.
for as
We
many,
see how it goes. It is what it is. Yeah, we see
yeah,
how it is. Yeah.
yeah, because after Yan Xiaonan and Tatiana, there's not really a third girl in line that's like the super obvious like dark horse or next contender up. There's other girls who were kind of in that position or have kind of taken their L's. There's some other exciting prospects a little further down the division, but they're not quite there yet. It's far out. So, yeah, we'll see how it goes. You want to talk about Ian Gary?
Nope. It is what it is, dude.
You want to talk about him fucking putting the finger right up against Neil Magny's head?
I see a
That was
lot of
weird,
people.
man.
Yeah, he's weird, and it sucks because I was a huge fan. Like I said earlier, like I had been following this guy's career. I think after his last fight, we were just like, I was all in on this guy's amazing, and then it's like, whoa, he like Hamzat at himself this week. You know what I mean? Just like went from like, whoa, this guy's amazing. He's on a fucking gravy train, biscuit wheels, dude, and then he just fucking pulled some cringe ass shit. But he's
Yeah.
so young. He's so young. It's it. So like I couldn't even imagine. What is he? 20? Was he 25, 26?
Yeah, let me pull it up.
Yeah, I could. I was a fucking moron. I couldn't imagine being on like a main UFC pay per view card
Yeah.
and not saying the most cringe, stupid bullshit.
Oh yeah, at
You know what I'm
25, I
saying?
would have
It's
been the
like,
worst.
I would have been an idiot. And then if I'm like, Ireland's not a huge place,
Mhm.
so like Conor McGregor, if you're from where Conor McGregor's from, like, you know what I mean? I'm sure I'd say some really like Central Valley type shit, you know? I'd say foo a lot or
I'm
whatever.
from
So
here. Yeah.
yeah, so it's like he definitely unfortunate. Um, you would have hoped that there's someone like in his team, or if he has a team or whatever, to kind of be like, just be yourself. Um, yeah, you be a dick, but just like be yourself, you know, and don't go way over the top, dude. Just like a little more self aware. But the good thing about it for him is that he's so fucking talented. He's so fucking talented and so well, his fucking technique is amazing. Like the technical way that he does it, the shit he does is very hard to do,
Yeah.
and he makes it look very easy. And he's so young, it's fucking
Yeah.
crazy. When he's 32, he's going to be fucking. If he doesn't get hurt, he's going to be fucking crazy, dude.
Yeah. 25 years old, 25 and 9 months. And he fought the 11 years older Neil Magny, coming in on short notice, filling in
Doesn't
for.
weren't they? They kept fucking saying. Then they say like he has more wins in the division. George St. Pierre, and it's like, shut up.
Neil Magny.
Yeah,
Yeah, just this nonsense stats that really
it's like, hey,
don't
just
equate to
shut up.
anything. Yeah,
Could you just shut up? Because George St. Pierre, like fucking, he just wouldn't fight for so long. You know?
yeah. Guess who has the most submissions in women's flyweight division? Jillian Robertson.
Yeah,
Hey,
yeah, yeah. Shit that no one needed
that's
to know.
that's
Yeah,
nice, you know.
yeah.
But yeah, you make a really good point though about his age, and I mean maybe his team. Yeah, I can't help but just echo a lot of what you said too, and just kind of wishing that be bombastic,
And if you're
be
gonna be
loud.
dumb, do it in the Neil Magny fight, because he's gonna have some huge fucking fights where everyone's gonna be remembering. Everyone's eyes are gonna be on it,
Mhm.
and there might be cards where I could definitely see him headlining fight nights and being maybe not co-main, but around this. He's going to be in this area of the pay-per-views now,
Oh yeah,
or if not higher. So if you're going to do the stupid shit, and if you're going to put it on tape for yourself to see it, because like I would bet. I don't care how fucking much of an alpha like crazy motherfucker you think you are. You can't go back and watch that and be like, because I've seen videos of myself and it's just like, oh, fuck, I can't believe I said that or I acted that way,
and you are an
Uh,
alpha.
yeah, oh
you
yeah,
you
dude,
are a
big time. I'm
Sigma
pack
grind
leader,
set.
dude. Sigma grind set, pack leader, dude. They
And
threw me
Ian
to the wolves. I came back, the alpha, dude.
and Ian
Carry
Gary
both.
breaks into the top 15. Or you know what? Actually, I got to remember. I'm looking at Tapology's rankings, not the UFC's rankings. So let me pull up the UFC's rankings, and we'll
Mhm.
see where he landed there before I go and just say he's in the top 15
I
now. And somebody,
also, because I remember Mike was tripping out because like I think like Patricky Pitbull and all these people were like on the UFC website, and from what I understand, they have like this type of algorithm that like pulls the top fighters in the world onto their site and like auto lines them up in pound for pound rankings or however that is. And I guess they're just not very good at vetting that code. I guess.
interesting.
Yeah, that's from what I understand. That's what happens. And I don't know. I'm having deja vu right now, so I don't know if I said that before.
No, you've never
But
said that
I
to me.
remember Mike. I remember I had heard this just randomly on an MMA podcast, and I looked it up and saw that it was true too. That like there's an article about it
Mhm.
where like every now and then like you look on UFC's rankings and you'll see like Bellator names or you'll see like names from other promotions, top guys like within the top 10, 15, and you're just like, what the hell, did they sign them and we don't know yet? But I guess they have like this auto population list that just grabs all the top fighters from like Sherdog, all the big name sites that rank fighters, and sometimes their team doesn't clean it up right away.
I was also hearing that because you can, and I'm not sure where it's at on the page, but if you kind of click through a bit and kind of go down the rabbit hole of some links from the rankings page, you can find the people who, or all the different media outlets who kind of compile the rankings. Apparently, they're
Mhm.
probably drawing from that data that you mentioned.
I'm sure.
Um,
Absolutely.
but it was funny because somebody from I think it was MMAfighting.com podcast I was listening to was like, "You want to hear who does these rankings?" And they started to name off the different media outlets who do them, and it was like all websites that nobody ever has heard or listens to or have any traction or anything at all. It was like shit like us, like
Yeah.
like pages
Yeah.
like us and that are doing the rankings, and they just kept going down the list. I'm like, I have never heard. I listened to a lot of other MMA media outlets, and I hadn't heard of any of them. I think maybe out of like 1 out of 10 that they listed, I had vaguely heard of, and I thought that was very interesting. It kind of made me wonder, like, who really is kind of doing these rankings for the UFC, because it seems like it's like a consensus sort of deal. But
Yeah. Speaking of
Ian, uh huh,
ineptitude, the fucking judges on this card, brother, were terrible. They're just gross. And then you get these and then I heard Saudi Amato's name more than one time, and it's just like this was so fucking bad. Like Damon Blackshirt won his fight. Um, I think Cheeto. Or I'm sorry, but go ahead and bring up what you're gonna say about Ian Gary. But like you're talking about inept and like who the fuck are these people even? I just cannot get the judges out of my head from this weekend.
we saw new faces in the referees too. I mean, anytime they go to one of these markets
Yeah,
that they haven't been to in a while and dealing with other athletic commissions, like we kind of
sure.
start to see these random faces trickle in a little bit. And but I mean,
Hmm.
hey, even our regular refs aren't necessarily have the greatest track record, or they're not above making mistakes and fuck ups like that. But
Yeah,
yeah, I remember you were mentioning in our group chat like some of these decisions that, and the ones that you were griping about, I didn't actually pay much attention to those fights, so I couldn't
yeah,
really like offer an opinion on it.
yeah. Well,
But
I thought
I
Cheeto Vera
trust your.
won,
Uh,
but like 30-27, there's no fucking way. That's how you just know you weren't watching the fight at all.
mhm.
They just go like I've said this a million times on here. I truly believe that these refs kind of just like, oh fuck, the fight's over, and then they kind of look over at the dude's face and they're like, "I'll give it to the yeah,
That guy
he
won.
he definitely won." That's a yeah,
Yeah,
which is a
and that's why
terrible way to do it with Cheeto Vera.
I was watching with some friends who don't watch MMA very often, and after every fight, when even the person who was very clearly losing the fight stands up to put their hands up, they were tripping out on that, and they were asking me,
Yeah,
they were like, "Does that really work? Like, what is this guy doing, putting his
it
hands up?" And I'm like,
must.
"Yeah,
They've been
no,
doing it
they're."
for years.
I told them that the judging in MMA is so bad that it really is worth it to act like you won, even if you just got your ass kicked, because you just really never know. Like you just said just now, you don't know what judge wasn't really paying attention and is just kind of looking to read the body language of
Yeah,
whichever fighter after the fight concludes. So yeah, there's a reason
yeah.
that they do that still.
I hope this lawsuit and like antitrust bullshit. I hope that there's some type of correspondence or emails or anything where they fucking bring that to light and they have to fucking make wholesale changes on the judging.
Maybe. Yeah, it doesn't sound like it has anything to do with any the athletic commissions at all, though. So it just kind of sounds like it's all down to.
I know, but I'm
Uh,
sure that there's so much stuff that got subpoenaed, conversations, emails, like
mhm.
private uh, messages and things like that. That hopefully like something like these somebody
At
who
least,
slews
yeah,
through it will find something and be like, hey, look at that.
yeah,
That's
yeah. If
yeah,
this thing bears fruit, I think
yeah,
people will just look at the whole fucking shit and just say, oh, like we can actually make change. Like if the
yeah,
biggest the biggest conglomerate in the entire sport on the face of the planet just took a fat L, like there actually is a point in fighting for the commissions to do better, or for anybody.
yeah.
It's not this whole like fucking hopeless endeavor.
The refs.
Pun
That's the
intended.
one thing that ruins every week. The one thing that consistently ruins the UFC is the judging for years and years.
Mm. I was going to mention Ian Machado Gary on the UFC's official rankings is now number 11. He's right behind Vicente Luque, and I could see him fighting Vicente Luque next, now that I mention it.
Mm-hmm.
But I was also going to, before we get off of him, and I don't know if we're going to go very much further. We got about 10 more minutes to go.
We kind of rounded everything.
Yeah. None of the, or virtually, none of the top 10 welterweights are booked at the moment. Like literally none. I can name them off. Leon Rocky Edwards, Kamaru Usman, Bilal Muhammad, Gilbert Durinho Burns, Colby Covington, Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, although this is on Tapology, so maybe he's not in the UFC's official rankings. No, he's there. Jeff Neal, Sean Brady. None of these guys are booked. So it really is like wide open who Ian Machado Gary could end up fighting next. It's like the only guys in the top 15 that are booked are Kevin Holland and Jack Della Maddalena, and they're fighting each other. So yeah. Like I think the matchmakers are really gonna like put their
Ian Gary and Della Maddalena is going to be crazy at some point. It's going to be like 2 or 3 years down the line. It's going to be like, whoa, that's a crazy matchup.
Timeline wise, since those guys are going to fight on September 16th, I would be all over seeing him fight the loser of that fight. I think.
I think the UFC is going to handle both of these guys, kind of keep them away from each other.
Maybe.
I would hope.
Perhaps.
I would hope, just because there's so many guys to fuck up to get over these guys over that are like on the back nine of their careers. That why would you make them fight each other now? It's like a Gamrot. It's like a Gamrot fuck. We mentioned it every fucking card or every fucking podcast. Yeah, like why would you do that? There's guys you can get over on.
Yeah, that's messed up. Yeah, all right, cool. Well, I would say that we could wrap it up there. I didn't very closely watch the rest of the fight. I can certainly talk about the two opening WMMA fights, but I think I will leave that for a potential WMMA episode that I might do with Mike tomorrow.
I'd like to listen to that.
Aside from that, it was a fun one. Thanks for joining me once again. Everyone, if you're still listening, thanks again for listening and for tuning in. I encourage you to leave your thoughts and your comments down below, and let us know if you agree, disagree, if you want to tell us to stop bitching about Sugar Sean O'Malley and and just enjoy the ride. By all means, engage with us there, and we'll be sure to reply to you. If you like this episode, consider subscribing and ringing the bell so you don't miss any future uploads, and we'll see you on the next episode of The Fight Plug.
And everybody, Henya Nakamura fights this weekend. Keep an eye on this gentleman. He's very fucking good.
It is. All right, see ya.